Who was it on your page today that said something about like just tell them you're cat people because nobody trusts them, and you're like, what the fuck?
Who was that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Somebody when Ben said something about having jury duty, and somebody said like, yeah, just tell them you're a cat person. Nobody trusts cat people.
Oh,
I am a cat person. How'd that guy know?
I know it was. So
I
funny.
can't have any cats because the kids are allergic.
you should get a goddamn hairless one, dude.
What
like
I
Mr.
propose.
Bigglesworth.
I've proposed this to the wife, and she doesn't
Yeah.
like the idea as much as I do. But I propose to just lock a kitten into Jesse's room, right?
Oh.
While he's sleeping,
She'll build a tolerance.
and then I figure in the morning, one or both of them will be dead, and we'll just declare a winner, right? So if the kitten takes him out fair and square, that's it. Then I get the kitten. What do you think about that, man?
God, I like it.
think it's an interesting proposal. I could see why Keto would not approve of that.
Allergies are in your brain.
Well, yeah. At some
Pretty sure
point,
that's
he's gonna
not true, actually,
not
but-
get sick by him, right?
Yeah, I mean, all he needs is just a kitten in his room, and then he won't get sick anymore. Anyway, welcome to the Practical Pistol Show, people. My name is Ben. Today I'm here to tell you how to raise your kids. And that is the thing that will hurt them, expose them to that thing, right? Survival of the fittest. No?
Yeah.
No, actually, we're going to talk about shooting. Not my philosophy on parenting. I'm not really a good parent. I just want a fucking kitten. That's what I want.
Get a hairless one, dude.
Those things freak me out.
They look weird, but it's a cat.
I'll be
so-
sitting here like a goddamn James Bond villain, stroking my hairless cat. Like, what the fuck? It's not good.
I can't think of a better pet for you, actually.
Damn.
The James Bond villain.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
That's. Oh, joining me today, we got Mr. Tim Herron. Say hello.
Hey
Tim.
guys, how are you?
Say hello, Hopkins.
Hi.
You got Mimi on board. You got your cat. I don't
Yeah,
have my
she's here,
goddamn cat.
laying down.
I got fucking dogs that need haircuts. Sir.
What?
The
Mine do
dogs
too.
need haircuts that I have. That's the only thing the kids will tolerate.
Your dogs don't shed though, do they?
Oh, they don't shed, but you have to get them haircuts.
Oh yeah.
For real?
My
Yeah,
dogs
for real.
shed and need haircuts.
That's awesome. That's
It's like the worst of both worlds.
Yes, it's insane.
Exactly.
The only thing I don't like about getting in the haircuts is they look a certain way, and then over time they kind of get like kind of fluffy and kind of cute, and then they get really ratty looking, and then you get them shaved down, and they just look like Martians. They look really freaky. And you're like, what the hell? What happened to you?
Look at him like, God damn, you're a sorry excuse for an animal.
Yeah, it's like you don't look right, man. How is it that the ones that you need to get the haircuts, they're more expensive, not less? I don't get that.
Because they're allergy free, right?
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah,
know, it
they
doesn't
have
make much
hair
sense.
instead of fur.
Anyway, let's get to some questions because that's what people are here for. Oh wait, no, before that, I'm supposed to plug Shooter Summit again. His arc will be up in my ass. I don't like that. All right, if you, by the time you hear the Shooter Summit is going on, you don't have to pay for it. Just go click on the linky in the YouTube show description. Click on that, go to Shooter Summit, and there'll be stuff that you can watch for free. It's podcasts like this with people more interesting than us talking about the same thing. We were talking about it before the show. You've been listening to it, Tim.
I have.
You wish you changed up the questions, but you get everybody's take on the same sort of things.
Yep.
I think next
it's
year
good.
he'll change it up.
I paid for it. I paid for it. It's good. So.
You actually did. You paid for
Yes,
it with
you
your own
did.
money.
Yep.
If you hear this like 2 weeks down the line, you're going to have to pay for it. I think if you want to hear it, but
I think it's good information. It's worth hanging on to. The free thing is really cool, but I mean,
like
dude, for $20, it's not hurting you at all to have it in your MP3 folder and listen to some stuff over and over again too. Yeah, it's good info.
Whatever.
Lots of different backgrounds on all the people also, even though there's some of the same questions.
We got people shooting people in the face. We got people shooting cardboard. We got people doing both.
Yep. That's good stuff.
All right. Hi, Ben. I know there's a lot of controversy around reshooting classifiers, but my question is a little different. Do you think it is reasonable to tank a classifier if you are pretty sure, while you are shooting, that your score will drag your average down? In other words, you call a shot into a no-shoot, or you have a malfunction, and then put a couple rounds into a no-shoot and wait a few seconds to take your last shot, just to make sure your score is below the minimum for your current class. At this point in my thought process, I feel this would be reasonable gaming, since this would be done while shooting the classifier and not the same as reshooting until you get a score you like based on the results you see after shooting the classifier. But I may be wrong. Thanks for your input. Is this reasonable, Tim?
Can I answer this one first?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what this guy's trying to do is he's trying to wrap his mind around it's ethically superior to sandbag more so than grandbag, which is
this is not sandbagging.
It is sandbagging.
I don't think it's not. No,
it's not
I don't think
sandbagging.
so.
So to explain the difference, sandbagging is...
This would be like a third thing, I think.
No, it's not. It's grandbagging. So sandbagging is intentionally sort of trying to get a classification that you think is below your actual skill, or trying to get the lowest classification you can. And grandbagging is trying to get a higher classification than maybe what you would just naturally shoot, or maybe where you belong, or just you want the highest possible classification. Maybe that's grandbagging. But this is a form of grandbagging because you'd be afraid that it'd pull your average down, and you want a high average. And if you get a low enough score, it doesn't account at all. So this guy's trying to get a higher score.
But he's just trying to do it in a
He's essentially
opposite direction.
trying to take a mulligan on it, right? To ensure it doesn't count. Because you know a lot of guys that are in that, what's the worst range? Like A class? High A class, something like that?
I think it's B.
I
B's
think
got the
B.
biggest range.
B's the easiest to make and the hardest to break out of.
I don't know about that, though. Like, say, if you're, well, I have known some guys that are B class and they start turning in M class scores and they don't get counted because they're too high. You know?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
And then
you guys have heard about that.
It's tough to shoot a score low enough then that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Well, once you're a GM, like if you shoot a score that's not pretty good, it's not going to count.
Yeah, dude, if you shoot anything, well, as a GM, if you shoot anything 89.99% or below, it doesn't count at all.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, I've shot a pretty good score. It doesn't count.
Not that it matters, but
right.
It doesn't count. So anyway, Tim, you think that this is not a distinction you would make?
I guess now that you've kind of expressed it in those terms, yeah, I guess.
Well, it's a different way to get to the same place.
Right.
Right? You're gaming the system a little bit to try and get a higher classification.
Right. And as we've covered in a previous podcast, about a year or so ago, we kind of went over the grandbagging or classifier reshoot thing. In all reality, it doesn't matter to me. It's that dude's scores or card, you know.
Yeah, it is that dude's card.
Can at this guy's skill level, I don't know him or know anything about him. Is he actually able to visually process that he fucked it up and he needs to go down, take more time on it?
I don't know. I don't know the guy.
Does he know that good enough where he knows what he has to get on it or not get, I guess?
I don't know. I can't answer that. But, probably a lot of guys can pick up on the fact that they hit a no-shoot. Because, they'll shoot, and maybe then they're doing a reload, and they see a big black hole on a white target, and they're like, motherfucker. Might as well put two more in there.
At that point, they probably punched out of the range, right? A no-shoot's a lot on a classifier if you only have 6 rounds, 12 rounds.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe they just want to make double sure.
I say take your lumps and go on. If you drag it down a little, maybe you get better.
We just got a podcast question from Tim Myers. I'll read it to you in a moment. Anyway, to me,
what's your take on this?
this guy's drawing a distinction here, but I'm not sure there's really any difference. They're both ways to game the system to get some different result, right? Now, if I was on this, I can only really envision myself on this squad with a guy doing this. So if I was just an observer and I saw a guy fuck a classifier up and then intentionally go and whack a no-shoot on it, I would be thinking like, what a fucking idiot. Like, I wouldn't want to sacrifice my match score, even at a stupid club match. I know, even at that, I wouldn't want to sacrifice my match score or like deliberately hit a no-shoot just to make the classifier not count. That's not something that would enter my brain, and I think that's silly. But if the guy's holding up the squad like, hey, I got to reshoot this one, hold on, everybody, I'd be like, I mean, if it happened once in a while, I wouldn't really care. But if it was like really slowing things down,
but you'd still think, what an idiot.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be. I know. And actually, in that circumstance, I would be like, what an idiot. I'd be like, okay, the guy wants a higher classification. I get that. Like, I understand he wants that. This reshooting thing long term is not really going to help him, but whatever. You know, you go do what you want. And then I've been at some matches where guys go to reshoot the classifier after the match and it's like, I don't give a fuck about that. I really don't, because that doesn't hurt me at all. I just don't care. So I don't think that these are all kind of gaming the system in some fashion, right? I would have a hard time getting worked up about any of it. But intentionally shooting no shoots is not something that I would do.
Yeah, I guess I would look at it that way. Excuse me. Looking at it that way, yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to like adversely affect my score, knowing that stage itself is like part of an overall larger match. That would just that's like yeah. You know, I'm going to shoot penalty free, and then you shoot penalty free until your last stage, and it's like some classifier you shit the bed on, and you're like, I'm going to go ahead and plug a no shoot. Now I'm going to take a mic no shoot on my otherwise penalty free match.
Yeah. That's kind of like you're walking through your house barefoot and you stub your toe and you're like, motherfucker, then you put your fist through the wall. Like, you're not really improving your situation there. Like maybe it seemed like a good idea in that instant, but now you need to get a splint on your foot and make your wife patch the wall or whatever. However you'd handle that. Well, I'm not patching it. Come on, let's be real. I'm too much of a pussy to put my fist through a wall. I just be thinking there's about a 1 in 4 chance I'm hitting a stud, and that's just not worth it to me.
That's exactly that 1 in 4 chance is all it takes for me to actually hit the stud every time. Every time.
Well, I guess you know how the chips fall for you in life, right?
Yep.
All right, podcast question from Pro Shop Tim Myers. I think this is for you, Hopkins, but I have a feeling I want to chime in on it too. Is the Shadow 2 cooler than the Stock 2?
Matt, your mic's
Matt, you have to hit the button to talk.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
I have only felt the Shadow 2 and dry fired it maybe a little. I don't have much experience with it.
I shot your Shadow 2, you liar.
I said the Stock 2.
Oh, the Stock 2.
Stock 2.
Did I fuck that up?
Yeah, you said Shadow 2. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah. I got 3,000 rounds on the Shadow 2. I've only held and dry fired a Stock 2, so I haven't shot much in it. It's a definite upgrade from the original Shadow by a lot. I made a post on Enos about it. The big differences and some that they don't even advertise that are different. I'm going to be shooting it all next year for all the matches. I think it's a definite upgrade. I think it's worth all the money. You don't have to do anything to it straight out of the box unless you wanted to.
It's baller.
Tim felt it this weekend.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, see what you're doing now is you're kind of talking around the question. Is it cooler than the Stock 2 in a comparative sense?
It's cooler than the Stock 2.
Yeah, why not?
It doesn't have that stupid over travel screw right in the middle of the goddamn.
Let me tell you what.
Trigger.
I agree with you guys. It is cooler. And I'll tell you why. It's because it's new. It's
That's
Jennifer,
true, yeah.
This is Jennifer Lawrence in 2012. Okay, you know what I mean? Like it's cool now, or it was cool. It was like the coolest. Like shit, that Hunger Games, that's the bomb right there. I mean, a few years down the line, maybe it won't be so cool anymore. But it's just cool now that it's new. Is that fair?
And no one can get it. Also, that's another thing.
Right. Look, the Shadow 2. Matt, tell everybody how awesome it is.
It's the greatest thing on
1
earth.
to 10, yeah,
it cuts like seconds off my stage time.
And how can I get
Dude,
one?
it's 10 times
can't
better
get
than
one.
that.
You can't get one. What if I want a stock 2? How do I get one of those?
Go to Ben Steger Pro Shop.
Yeah, we're shipping them out. We'll ship it tomorrow or some shit.
Yeah,
I'm
for like
sure.
$620.
Yeah, they're cheap and they're shipping
What?
out like right away. They're not that cheap, but they're pretty
Oh, I
cheap.
was about to say, geez.
Right. If it was so cool, people.
God, could you remember when the stock 2s, people were selling those bitches for like $1,700, $1,800?
And yeah, that's exactly. They're like, go fuck yourself, shooters. Like,
Yep.
we have the stock 2.
Now, if you're paying more than $900 for them, you're getting ripped off.
Yeah, I like the Shadow 2. Okay, I think it's fine.
Dude, it's heavy. It's awesome.
It is
That
heavy.
damn thing is.
I don't like the frame that much. It's an improvement from the Shadow 1 for sure, but I don't. They're shipping them with these thin little bitch grips. I don't like.
You got weird hands, dude. I haven't heard anybody that says they don't like them.
Well, I'm a discerning critic, Matt.
Just saying.
My only concern with it, and actually it's not even a concern.
It's not me. It doesn't feel like me right now.
I've got
shoot it well.
small, short fingers, and it's hard for me to reach the trigger on double action. But I've had that issue with all CZs.
That's a CZ problem. They're not going to fix that.
That's true. You can't reach a Tanfo trigger then either, can you?
No, the Tanfo has a shorter throw and a shorter reach. So a Tanfolio is a lot more realistic option for Tim, to be honest.
It can't be that much though.
It is. The throw on the trigger, like, it doesn't need as much movement.
But does it sit back far enough?
Yes, if you have the old style curved DA ones, I use those.
Okay.
So it sits back further. The downside of that trigger system is with the shorter throw, you need to get it's more sensitive to getting the spring set up right to make sure it pops everything. The CZ uses a bigger, heavier, longer spring that operates with a longer throw on the trigger, but it sets stuff off a larger range of springs. That makes sense,
that makes
Matt?
sense. Yeah.
I do gotta say, the Shadow 2 though, dude, like stock for stock, that has an amazing double action trigger in it.
It's
it's not.
closest to an extreme, isn't it? Wouldn't you say that, Ben, though?
Yeah, it's like the Shadow 2s, they do, like, honestly, Matt may be a liar, or he may have been lied to, or maybe both. It's hard to say. But he swears he didn't mess with his Shadow 2 trigger, and I've shot other Shadow 2s in Europe.
Oh, I swear.
All the triggers seem fine to me. And it's, like, I think you could buy that gun and honestly not mess with the trigger and have an okay gun. Have an okay trigger.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not as good as you can do. You can put a comp hammer in it.
Yeah.
Tim felt the one with the comp hammer.
Yeah.
And you could put a lighter spring, main spring in it.
I honestly would shoot Matt's Shadow 2 as it sits.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
matches. I would.
Tim, the one you felt was actually better than the one Ben felt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that having been said, I would still buy if I was buying a gun today, I'd still buy the stock 2.
Well, you can't buy a Shadow 2. That's the problem.
Well, no, the other problem is it's way more money, and I don't like the frame as much.
Yeah.
So I'm still a stock 2 guy. But that's just
Why don't
me.
you like the frame?
It doesn't fit
what's
my
your
hand.
concern with the frame?
It's like long and thin, like a 1911.
Okay.
You know, like a 1911 with really thin grips on it. It's weird.
Yeah.
How long and thin it is. I don't dig that. But they ship it with these stupid thin grips on the. No offense, Matt. They ship it with these retarded grips. Really.
But would you
fit for
say
idiots.
that could probably be fixed then by just putting like a medium thickness grip on it, or like the wood?
Yeah.
Well, the good thing
know,
about
like
the
the-
Shadow
probably.
2s is any full-size CZ75 or Shadow grip will fit onto it. So
Well,
we
if you
can
look at it, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's good that there's a lot of grips already on the market for it. It's bad in that the frame's actually longer, but you have the same size grip panel. So it may make for some really weird configurations with the grips. Right?
Like
if
a
I
thick
put,
one on the right, thin
yeah.
one on the left,
Well, no,
something
if I
like that.
put thick grips on it, the gun will be really thick, and then it'll thin out and still have length to go, but be really narrow in that space. Like, I imagine you could set it up to feel really weird. I don't know. I
Yeah,
haven't
I'm
messed
sure.
with it a lot. But anyway, I don't love the frame, but it's better than the. It's at least long enough that I can get my hand on the damn thing. Unlike the regular CZ75s or whatever. But yes,
if you could pull the trigger back an eighth of an inch further back for me, then that gun would be baller. Like, yeah.
Well, they can't do that.
I know.
They just tell
But
you to get
saying.
bigger hands, man. Hashtag technology.
Stick with the 1911 then.
Yep. That's what I'm going to do.
Or get a stock 2.
Hashtag P320, right?
P320. I heard those are pretty good.
Got one.
Okay. I have one too, actually. All right. Let's move on to the next question. I know from your books that you rest your dominant thumb on the safety. This is directed at me, obviously. Practical pistol reloader, you state, I use my thumb to actively disengage the safety. Do you activate the safety before you draw each time? If so, is it required when the hammer is fully down? I have a CZ75 SPO1 shadow target. Oh man, you should have waited for the shadow too. And will be shooting production. I would hate to have to fuck with that safety every draw. So I do not engage my safety before I draw, but I make sure I'm actively disengaging it on the stock 2 when I draw it, because I use the regular wide safeties that come on them. So I want to make sure that I'm actively disengaging the safety, putting pressure on it, making sure the safety's not engaged. Matt, you do things differently with your CZ.
Not really.
Well, you have
my
a thin
regular
safety.
CZ, my regular safety does not. Shadow does not.
Does not what? Have a thin safety?
Does not have the thins. They have the
really?
mediums. Yeah.
Well,
And I rest my thumb on it.
I tell everybody to get the thins.
Yeah, the thin ones on the Shadow 2 fit really good. And I hadn't had a problem activating them or not activating them or whatever.
I mean, I like on the CZs, I like the thin safety fitted hard, so it's hard to move it up and down.
Yeah, that's the ideal situation.
Yeah, so it's like
kind of like the safety on the Shadow 2, Tim, right?
Yeah.
What was that all about? That was fucked up.
What?
Oh, nothing.
What?
Forget it. All right.
No.
I was listening to a podcast earlier where you talked about the dot drill. I find myself swapping focus back and forth. Swapping focus doesn't help my shooting, and I'm better if I stick with one or the other. He's talking about target focus versus sight focus. My vision isn't good at distance, and I shoot uncorrected as I can see my front sight pretty well, but things decline with distance. I'm not sure this matters. What do you prefer and why? Matt, we shot the dot drill the other week.
Yeah,
we shot it. Ago. All right, so target focus or sight focus on that thing?
Gotta have sight focus.
Okay. I like that. Tim, what do you think?
I've shot it both ways. I've shot it with a really hard front sight focus, and I've shot it with a kind of just looking through the sights with probably, I guess, what would be more considered a target focus. I think as long as your focus doesn't change throughout the 6 shots, throughout the string of fire, I think if your focus changes on that, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because then you tend to get you tend to then start to get results driven versus just process driven, if you know what I mean. So like the process of just watching the sights lift and recoil and settle and lift and recoil and settle versus people tend to get a tendency to just like want to look down at the target to see just how good they're doing about midstring, and then the next thing you know, you start yanking a shot, and
or they see a hole right where they didn't want one, and they're like,
right.
Ah!
Exactly. So I think the swapping focus causes more issues than keeping a focus steadfast, either target focus looking through the sights or a hard front sight focus. When you run the drill at 5 yards or 7 yards, I've tended to find that with my vision, I actually can shoot. I can shoot the drill pretty darn well with a target focus and just really seeing the sights kind of more just peripherally, through the sights versus really keeping an eye on a front sight or keeping a hard focus on the front sight. So, but that's just me personally. I mean, some people really got to concentrate on the front sight to shoot that drill well. And I mean, it kind of goes back to a conversation. I know, God, I think we had actually on the duty forum. It's been probably a year or more ago. We were kind of discussing plate racks and shooting plate racks at different distances and stuff, and being able to kind of almost open yourself up to being able to keep a plate focus, or a target focus on a plate rack and shoot the plate rack with just kind of a peripheral target focus and just seeing the sights lift between plates versus watching the front sight lift and then you focus your attention on the plate, then bring the sights to it, then focus the attention on the sight. So, and I actually found that I'm faster and probably much more consistent with actually a target focus on that. So,
everything you said was true about the dot drill. I like that. One thing I'll point out, when you have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of white paper, which is what most people use to shoot that dot drill, it is very hard to keep a front sight focus because you've got that big bright sheet of paper that's relatively close and it keeps pulling your eye to it, especially since you could probably see the holes appearing in it and you want to start looking at that. So I think that's kind of one of the good things about the drill is you actually kind of have to work at it to keep your eye on the front sight. So that's what I would add to what Tim's masterful and insightful comments. Really, they're great.
Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a bang-up podcast, I think. Thank you so much for coming on, Tim.
Of course. Always.
Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you as well. I love your new microphone,
No problem.
by the way. It's fantastic.
Anytime.
All right, listener people, if you have questions you'd like the answer to, go to bensteger.com. Send us your podcast questions. We might record a podcast on it. We might not. It's hard to say. Probably will, actually. Guys, next week is our Christmas episode.
What?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We're going to do like special giveaways and Santa and his elves and
We
shit
should
like
do
that.
a Practical Pistol Show Secret Santa.
How would that work?
All of you guys buy me a gift and mail it to me, and then I guess who gets me what.
Interesting.
Right?
Man, you are on this. Did you just come up with this, or you've been thinking about this a while?
That's actually just as that crazy shit just went through my head.